welcome back to the MetaLogic podcast. I'm your host, Aditya Kaushika, and today we're going to be talking about MetaLogic Consulting, our company, and I have Ryan Goyal here as a guest speaker.
Hi, Addy. Thank you very much for having me today. I'm pretty excited to see how today's conversation goes and to explain to the listeners what specifically we do at MetaLogic.
Yeah, and we'll begin with an introduction into data science and what data science is, and then we'll break down what we specifically do at MetaLogic Consulting and how we help our clients achieve the results that they want to see.
Sounds good.
A lot of people ask us what we do at MetaLogic Consulting, and we say that we're data science consultants, but we realize that that's not a term that's very clear or common just because the field is so new. So we wanted to go into detail about our services and go into what data scientists are, right? So what are data scientists?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question because there is no one proper definition of data science. So there are different ways that people define data science. And when we say data science, what we mean is basically the combination of business intelligence, which is visualizations, dashboarding, and basically getting some insights from data. That's the first. The second is predictive analytics. When we talk about predictive analytics, it's applying some sort of rule-based algorithms to the data to make some sort of prediction. And the third is machine learning solutions. Now, machine learning solutions here include both supervised and unsupervised methods. And this is essentially one step ahead of predictive analytics in that it does not require very specifically coded rule-based algorithms, but is more freely and open to sort of understanding patterns in data. To these three domains, something that's really important is data science also includes infrastructure knowledge, so IT knowledge about data warehousing, databases, and so forth, and also very importantly, business domain expertise. So understanding the context behind why we're solving problems.
So why is it important to have the business domain portion and the IT knowledge portion? Because when we usually think of data scientists and what we've learned in school too is the real algorithms behind the machine learning, the Python, that why is it so important to have that business domain knowledge and the IT knowledge?
So that's a good question. When we learn machine learning solutions and algorithms in college, on courses, online and stuff, we learn it in a vacuum. It's just like the data is given to you, like magically, you perform your algorithms on the data and you get predictions that are just there on your laptop. But in reality, you have data warehouses where it's actually not that easy to get the data that you actually need for a specific project. So it is necessary to understand data warehousing, data infrastructures, and also business domain expertise. Within college, again, you're given a framework or you're given a problem that you have to solve. But often in the real world, you don't know what you're trying to solve. You're trying to see, okay, this is the business. This is how we can add value to a business. So this is the sort of data that we can get for this problem. So like you have to understand the context within which you're solving problems. And that's where business domain expertise comes in.
Taking the business domain expertise and the IT knowledge along with the machine learning algorithms is what we do at MetaLogic Consulting. Is we bring that all together, and that's what we define as data science.
Yeah, exactly. And this also might seem a bit abstract. It might seem a bit technical. So I think it might help to give a few examples of how data science consulting or data science projects actually like look in a business. If you have a few examples.
A great example of a data science project in a business would be the Amazon recommendation system or the Netflix recommendation system. Also, banks use machine learning and data science for underwriting for all of their loans. UPS uses machine learning to optimize their routes, and Tinder uses it for matchmaking on their app. And the list goes on and on. I would say almost every single big company right now is using machine learning and data science.
Okay, I think it would be a little helpful to dive into one example that you gave. And you said banks use it for underwriting and lending, right? So just to make this a little more clear, can you explain sort of how that tangibly looks?
If a bank were to pursue a data science project and they say, we want to use machine learning for the underwriting of our loans, that would mean that they have compiled a bunch of data on all the loans that they've given out in the past, along with possibly loans that other companies have given out if they have access to that data. Then the machine learning algorithm will look at that data with the binary option of yes, we should give out the loan, no, we shouldn't give out the loan. And it will make determinations on what are the most important variables for giving out a loan or to not give out a loan. Just off the top of my head, I think that a very important variable would be the income that someone brings in. But it will go through all of these variables, and then when a new person comes and applies for a loan, it's no longer the loan officer who has to make the determination. It's now a algorithm based model that is making the determination of whether or not someone should be approved for the loan.
So it does sound like it is beneficial or valuable to have such a data science solution within your company if you're a bank, right? So it does help you to know which of your potential customers might default on loans so you don't lend to them. But some people may not be convinced. Why should all companies, not just banks, really care about data science or machine learning?
So, on average, using machine learning will provide profit gains of 38% across the board for companies, and will increase productivity for companies by 40%. So this is not just something that's narrowly focused on one industry, right? Machine learning can be and will be applied to every single industry.
Okay, so are you trying to say that companies cannot get away with not using machine learning or data science?
Yeah, I would take it that far. I would say that data science and machine learning is not going to be a nice thing to have. It's going to be a necessity to have. And the reason is because of competitors, right? You're not going to grow as fast as you could if you aren't using data science solutions and machine learning solutions. Your competitors, if they decide to invest in data science and machine learning, they're going to outperform you and outcompete you. I've used this statistic before in another podcast, but companies that are using data science and insight driven decision making will steal by the year 2020 $1.2 trillion from companies that are not. So it's
Hmm.
not a choice anymore. It's
Mhm.
becoming more of a necessity.
Yeah, and back to your lending example, Addy. I think it's not, again, I agree with you. It's not only for banks or lending companies. It is for companies across the board. For example, like imagine you're a manufacturing company, or actually any company for that matter. One of your most important strategy initiatives is to increase value or create value or improve efficiencies. And you could do this in a variety of different ways. You could try and search for places where you can get higher returns, higher profitability. This could be through lower costs or increasing revenue. And as we are about to explain in this podcast, data science is probably one of the most productive and one of the most efficient ways of doing this. So I have a pretty good example that shows why data science can be valuable. So imagine you're a new company and you're launching a new product, or you might be an existing company that launches a new product. One of the main decisions that you have to take is how much should you charge for your product. Now, there are a variety of different ways of deciding a price. This could be based on competitors, based on historical products, and so forth. But there is some element of guesswork to it, because the price that you choose affects a lot of different things. It affects your demand, it affects your reputation, your value, perception, and so forth. So what machine learning can do and what optimization solutions specifically can do is try out scenarios of different prices and see what the likely outcomes would be under each price. And so now you have less guesswork but more of an educated guess or an educated decision to choose a price. So, Addy, the point that I'm trying to make is that from these examples, it is pretty evident that data science is important in companies and is almost becoming a necessity. But that leads me to my question to you. What are the existing solutions, or what are the existing options that companies can opt for if they want to have data science projects within their companies?
I think here at MetaLogic Consulting, we think that there are three existing solutions out on the market. beginning with hiring data scientists, which would be the most traditional way of completing data science projects, where just like other functions in your business, you hire an employee, they do projects for you. Unfortunately, this doesn't work for data science because talented data scientists are scarce and are usually isolated to bigger cities, and they're very expensive to hire, having salaries of well over $100,000. Also, the average tenure of data scientists at big companies like Apple and Google is only 1.1 years, with the average vacancy being 51 days for the job opening, which means that companies are spending up to 20% of their time looking for data scientists to hire rather than getting the work done. So then, if they can't hire data scientists, the second option would be to get a software as a service solution. This is where you download a software is given to you, and you put data into it, and it spits out a recommendation. Unfortunately, this one size fits all approach doesn't work for data science because every single company is different. Every single company's data looks different. The requirements are different. The software as a service approach doesn't work. And it's also a black box where companies are just handing over their data or ingesting their data into this software, and then they get a recommendation, but they don't understand how that recommendation came to be. Right? There's a lot of surprises in software as a service, and it's a complete black box. You don't understand the thought behind the algorithms, the train of thought behind how the progress was being made, and it's just an uncomfortable experience. And then the third option would be to hire individual data consultants. And while individual data consultants can be very specialized, unfortunately, this doesn't work for end-to-end data science projects because oftentimes you're restricted to one person's skill set. And you end up having to hire many different data consultants for many different jobs in the data science cycle that potentially haven't worked together, and it can be a much more organizational hassle. So that's where we fit in at MetaLogic Consulting. We provide a dedicated team of experienced data scientists that are working solely on your project because we understand that there are many different phases of the data science cycle, and not every single person is going to be an expert on every single phase. So we need a lot of people to be involved in the project. We also have custom solutions. So as I highlighted before, the why software as a service doesn't work is because every single company's needs are different. Every single company's data looks different. And the solutions also then need to be different. You can't have a plug and play model when it comes to data science. So everything we do is custom made and tailor made to your requirements. We are also cloud compatible. So as companies are moving their data to the cloud and really updating and upgrading their infrastructure, we're there with you when you do that. We're compatible on AWS and Azure, but it's important to note if you are not ready to make that transition, we can also do on-premise environment modeling. We're also very transparent during the data science cycle. We are constantly providing your team with progress reports. We're making sure that your team does not feel like it's a black box with the algorithms. We're going to teach you, and you're going to learn how these algorithms work and what the train of thought was behind the recommendations that we give. And finally, our solutions are end to end. So we know that there is a lot to do when it comes to data science projects, starting with extraction, cleaning, and ending with deployment and maintenance. And we're going to be there helping you through every single stage of the data science cycle, and not just doing the modeling or not just doing the deployment, but doing the entirety of the data science cycle with you.
So, Addy, I'm going to dive a little more into that end-to-end piece that you just spoke about. So, what exactly is it that we do end-to-end? So, what do we offer? We categorize our services into 5 different types. The first 2 have to do with prediction. The first being machine learning models, and the second being advanced predictive analytics models. Now, as we mentioned at the very beginning, both of these are predictive analytics models. And the difference here is that machine learning is one step ahead or is a little more sophisticated than advanced predictive analytics. So that begs the question, why include both? And that is because in some very specific cases, you might have outcomes in which the advanced predictive analytics models actually perform better. So you want to cover all your bases and you want to include both and pick the models that have the highest predictive accuracy. So let me make this a little less abstract. In our previous podcast, we spoke about churn prediction as an example use case. And churn prediction is when you want to predict which customers of yours are highly likely to leave your company so you can focus your marketing efforts. So, in this case, looking at machine learning models, we would go to your data warehouse with you, and with your help, we would try and sort of extract the data that we think would be the best to train such machine learning models. Now, this extraction process could be the regular ETL from your data warehouses while picking the variables that we think would be the most influential while training these models. And then once we have the data that we think is significant, we would then, in your environment, train over 1,000 or in some cases 10,000 experiments and then pick the model that has the best predictive accuracy. We then customize this model and make sure it fits your unique requirements and then deploy it on your environment. So the third category of offerings that we have are time series forecasting models. Now, in this case, it's not so much about prediction, but it's more about forecasting. So let's say you have historical data of some sort. It could be revenue data, it could be demand data, it could be anything. Now, the job here is to understand historical trends, whether there was seasonality involved, whether there was a cyclical component involved, and sort of project how that is likely to continue into the future. And I think, Addy, in a bit, you can give a few examples of this. The fourth bucket of offerings is simulation and optimization. Now, previously I mentioned about the price optimization project, right? About choosing the right price of a product for a new company. Now, that is one example of simulation projects. So it essentially covers solutions when you're trying to make some important big decision that involves some sort of uncertainty. So even in the price example, whether you price it at $5 or $10 or $15, there are going to be some consequences. And you cannot predict with 100% certainty what those consequences are going to be. There are going to be uncertainties. So even if you take inventory management as an example, if you have, for example, a fixed order quantity management system where you place an order for a certain amount of product when it reaches a certain stock level. Now that stock level you can predict using EOQ techniques. But in EOQ techniques, the assumptions are that the numbers are static, but they're never static. They're always dynamic. There are always uncertainties involved. So what simulation and optimization models do is help you model such uncertainties so that the decisions that you make are based on much more accurate assumptions. And then the fifth bracket of offerings that we have are visualizations. Now, this could be business intelligence solutions on their own, so some sort of dashboarding or reporting tool, or this could just be visualizations that are part of other projects. The one point that we want to make clear here is that when you hire us for a project, it is not necessary that you're hiring us for one of these five categories. We could potentially use two or three of them for one single project, depending very specifically on your requirements. So, Addy, I think it would be a little helpful if you could provide a few examples of specific projects that we can do. I know in our previous podcast that we spoke about the churn prediction project, the quality testing project, and the predictive maintenance project. But if you could give other newer examples, it would be really helpful.
I'd love to give a couple of examples that we have experience with, but I think it's important to note that the value that we provide too is from the custom solutions. So it's not like if you work with us, you're just choosing one of the use cases that we've already done in the past. We pride ourselves on being able to come up with custom solutions for your needs and what the problems you're facing are. But again, I'd love to give a couple of examples of projects that we have experience with. So one of the more applicable use cases that we have is the recalls and warranties use case for manufacturing companies. This is to predict which customers are likely to use their warranty on your product. And why is this important for companies to understand? It's important because companies that can reduce the amount of warranty utilization will ultimately save more money. If they have customers who are not utilizing their warranty as much, they're not going to ultimately have to pay for the warranty.
So, Addy, these warranties that you're talking about, they don't sound like such a big deal, but they actually could amount to millions of dollars of savings for companies, right?
Yeah, depending on the size of the company, I would say that the warranty and recall savings could even be in the tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars compared to your sales.
Okay.
Another use case that we have is site comparison. So, site comparison, we can help you compare the performance of different sites using metrics and understanding why certain sites perform better than others. And why is this important? Well, this is important because this helps understand which markets work and where to open new sites. If you're trying to open a new sales office and you want to be around the customers that you want to potentially sell to, you need to make sure that you know that you're diving into a new area that has a lot of opportunity. And finally, a third use case would be demand forecasting. So, demand forecasting, we can help you create forecasting models to predict the future of demand on one or many products. And why is this important? So this is important from a budgeting perspective. So you need to know how much demand you're going to have for this product so you can budget the expenses. You need a plan for growth to make sure you understand how over the course of time the demand for this product is going to grow. You need to understand production scheduling. So in a manufacturing environment, it's not like you're only producing one product. But if you can more closely understand the demands of your product, you can allocate time more specifically and make sure that the supply is equal to the demand. And finally, you can understand customer behavior, all of which will improve cash flow and credit management.
Also, I would like to add that if you want more specific information on projects that we have done in the past, we do have a section on our website called White Papers, where we dive deep into the nitty gritty technical details of a few previous projects that we have. Also, Addy, I think it might be insightful to give a little details about how we approach specific projects.
Talking about our methodology is definitely helpful. So our methodology at MetaLogic Consulting is a combination of the crisp DM software development methodology along with the agile project management methodology, and kind of we call it the meta methodology, bringing those two together. And it begins with the business discovery phase. The business discovery phase is where we talk to you, we make sure that our company values align, we make sure that the data science project that you have is something that we can complete and we can complete well. It's just this phase where we make sure that we're all on the same page. After we pass that business discovery phase, we really go into the preparation phase. So that's where we talk about the nitty gritty details of the data, the extraction, the cleaning, making sure that the data is ready for the modeling phase, which is the next step. Modeling is where we use our arsenal of algorithms, machine learning algorithms, predictive analytics algorithms, whatever your needs are, and we apply it to the clean data. And we move quickly from the modeling phase to the validation phase. And the reason why I say we move quickly is we want to make sure this process is very iterative, that we are aligned with your team, with the progress that we're making. We make sure that your team is satisfied with the developments and the recommendations that we give. And after we get validation, we actually go back to the preparation and the modeling phase again. Because we make small adjustments, we get them validated, and then we go back, we make small adjustments again. And the reason for this is we want to make sure that you're learning along with us and that nothing is a black box. So you're not going to be surprised at the end when we give our recommendation or when we give our predictive model, because it is all going to be working with your team and teaching your team how the algorithms work. And then finally, our methodology ends with the deployment and maintenance phase. This is where we deploy the model that we've created to your production environment so your end users can start interacting with it and use it to make real-time decisions, and maintain the model for the future. And a key differentiating factor for our services is that we don't have a recurring fee once we've deployed the model on your production environment. Once we create that model for you, and everything that we do, remember, is tailor-made and custom-made for you, we're not going to charge you anything in the future after delivering you the model.
And speaking of differentiating factors, Addy, and I also think this is a good way to phase out today's podcast, there are certain things that set us apart from a lot of the other consultants or machine learning experts in our realm. And that is, A, we tailor make, as we've said a lot today, we tailor make our projects and we tailor make our solutions to your specific requirements. B, we always keep you in the loop. We're completely transparent. You're going to know exactly what's going on in the project. It's not going to be that you give us your requirements and 1 month later we come out with this random solution. You're going to always be in the know. And also, finally, we specialize in manufacturing companies and we specialize in data science. We have a very well thought out niche that we're really good at. And those are the few factors that set us apart.
Yeah, and I think that's a great place to stop today. And I thank you all for listening to today's podcast. I hope this was helpful in knowing about MetaLogic Consulting and what we do, how we work, how we're going to work within your company, and what our values are. Ryan, do you have any final thoughts today?
Nothing. Just I wanted to thank you for having me once again, Addy.
And thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a great day.